Welcome fellow Protoss, my name is Archrist and allow me to introduce your newest agent, the Black Rose, Renoa. Renoa is a Hunter Void type combatant. She specializes in creating and discarding dirge bullets to deal bonus damage and extra attacks. She takes your main DPS slot in your teams and focuses on high burst single target damage. She generates a lot of bullets that trigger automatically and can deal an insane amount of damage to a group of enemies. First, let's take a look at her deck. She has 2 basic attack and 1 basic shield card. Her gimmick card is Echo of Sorrow, a 1-cost attack card that deals 140% damage and creates 1 dirge bullet. Dirge bullets are a 1-cost attack card that gets exhausted upon use and deals 160% damage. However, if they are discarded into the discard pile, whether by an effect or unused when you end your turn, they will automatically trigger and deals 80% of damage to a random enemy. Her unique cards are Instant Judgment, which is a 1-cost attack card and deals 180% damage, and if you have a dirge bullet in hand, it gets discarded to deal an extra 100% damage. This is a nice consistent single target damage card. And remember that when this discards the dirge bullet, it will trigger its extra attack effect, so realistically, this is a 340% attack for just 1 cost. Ballad of Pitch Black, which is a 1-cost attack card, deals 50% damage and hits 3 times, but for each dirge bullet in hand, it increases each hit by 20%. This card is harder to set up and can potentially outdamage Instant Judgment if you have 4 dirge bullets in hand. It works best in conjunction with her ego skill that retrieves all dirge bullets. Flower of Devoured Fate is a 0-cost skill card. You can discard up to 2 cards, and then it creates that many dirge bullets. Remember that this can discard dirge bullets to make even more dirge bullets, thus dealing damage at the same time. And lastly, Last Ditch Effort, which is a 1-cost attack card. It deals 150% damage and discards all dirge bullets in hand. Each one discarded increases this damage by 50%. This card also has the Retain effect. Last Ditch Effort is insanely strong, and can scale to your hand size of dirge bullets. Assuming you have the max hand of 10, and 9 of those are dirge bullets, this is already 600% damage, plus you get the 80% on each dirge bullet that's discarded, so that's another 720% damage split up to whatever enemy is still standing. Since this card has Retain, you can hold it into your hand for when you're ready to unleash it. Her ego skill is Black Thorn, which costs 4 ego points. It deals 300% damage and then retrieves all dirge bullets from the draw and discard pile. Ideally, you combo her ego skill to combo one of her cards, but even if not, drawing them into your hand, only to discard them again can potentially bring a lot of damage. When deploying Renoa, her playstyle revolves around creating dirge bullets to deal a lot of extra damage to combo off her cards. At the start, her damage is very slow, as she only has a gimmick card to create 1 dirge bullet, so the right builds and setup is necessary to bring the best out of Renoa. When she does get going though, it's super satisfying to end your turn and watch and listen to the sound of her bullets flying. Buffing dirge bullets also buffs the extra attack damage when it gets discarded. Advanced play will revolve around knowing how to maximize her dirge bullets. Choosing to use them at 1 action point will deal more damage on the spot, or discarding them at half damage to combo later. Use her ego skill to retrieve the bullets to make comboing easier. Onto her pros and cons. She has an insane amount of single target damage, as the damage scales with how many dirge bullets you can create. Most of her cards tend to deal strong single target damage, but each dirge bullet will deal multiple hits per turn for each one discarded. This also lets her spread her damage around to avoid any overkill on a single target. She can also use those detrimental cards that get placed in your hand to her advantage, as she can use them to create dirge bullets instead. And basically everything of Renoa costs 1 action point, which makes it easy to plan around. And dealing damage with dirge bullets can be free. As for her cons, her base deck is pretty bad, as she doesn't generate enough dirge bullets, requiring a good save data to make her shine. The damage from discarded dirge bullets hits a random target, so it doesn't always hit the most ideal enemy. She doesn't have any natural AoE cards. The only way she can deal with multiple enemies at once is to create enough dirge bullets to spread around. And if you're mindlessly just making dirge bullets, she will just clog up the deck, making drawing cards of other units you need or even her own cards to combo harder. When it comes to partners, her best pairing is Kiara, who is on the standard partner banner. If there are 10 or more cards in the discard pile, Renoa's attack card damage is increased by 15%, and when Renoa discards a card, attack cards get a further 25% for the turn. Essentially, if she has multiple dirge bullets, each one she discards gets stronger. Her ego skill costs 3 points and deals 200% damage and another 20% per card in the discard pile. As Renoa excels at putting cards in the discard pile, it's easy to see why Kiara works best with her. Serathea is on the battle pass can work too. She increases crit chance by 8%, and for each crit she lands, crit damage is increased by 3%, capping at 15%. Her ego skill costs 3 points and deals 250% damage and applies 2 stacks of Vuln onto an enemy. For 4-star, you can use a Cad. He increases bullet damage by 10%, and when Renoa lands a crit, bullet damage is increased for the turn. His ego skill costs 2 points and increases Renoa's crit chance by 25% for the turn. Otherwise, use Yuri, increasing Renoa's attack by 8% and upon first shuffle increases damage by 8%. Her ego skill costs 3 points and draws 2 cards, which is actually quite nice. When it comes to teams, her multi-hits synergize with any buffer. Her best buffer is Ray, as she has a card that permanently buffs her 1-cost attack cards, which is all of Renoa's, including her Dirge Bullets. Nia is really good as her cards allow for selective discarding, letting you benefit from Dirge Bullet damage and Nia's effect. Same thing with Cassius, who can discard and draw. If you're looking for a sub DPS to run with Renoa, you can use Luke or Lucas. Both of them buff bullet cards. Luke provides more single target DPS, while Lucas provides more AoE. When it comes to memory fragments, her best 4-piece is Conqueror's Aspect set, which increases crit damage by 35%. Her 2-piece set is Executioner's Tool set, which further increases crit damage by 25%. Alternately, you can use Offering of the Void and Black Wing instead, as they're easier to farm as they're both on the same stage. But as Renoa is going to be focused on stacking crit rate, increasing her crit damage only benefits her further. For her main stats, get crit percent on her 4th slot, attack or void damage on her 5th, and attack on her 6th slot. Her substats are as follows: crit rate, crit damage, extra damage, and attack percent. You want to reach at least 60% crit rate to hit Renoa's potential breakpoint. I will now go over 3 examples of team setups. The first one is Unlimited Dirge. As the name states, this builds around generating lots of Dirge Bullets to deal consistent damage every turn. Ray is the best support, and you can use either Cassius or Nia for hand control to discard and draw necessary cards. This follows her base build, and her card priority is Instant Judgment, Flower of Devoured Fate, Last Ditch Assault, and then Ballad of Pitch Black. You can get away with not having either of the last 2, but she does lose a lot of her DPS if she doesn't have a full kit. Try and remove her basic shield card as it's not needed. Even better if you can remove her basic attack cards too. When it comes to selecting epiphanies, I find Echo of Shadow getting Outbreak of War and making a Dirge Bullet each turn to be the most consistent. With a consistent Dirge in hand, Instant Judgment that discards 1 Dirge Bullet from hand is the highest DPS epiphany. With a Flower, discarding up to 3 cards to create Dirge Bullets is the most consistent. And with the Ballad of Pitch Black, get the epiphany that exhausts all Dirge Bullets in your discard pile. Hunter common cards are actually quite strong. I'm a big fan of Maneuvering Fire and Quick Draw, as they both start in your hand, deals a lot of burst damage at the start of battle, and then gets exhausted. Leap Attack with this setup works, as hopefully either Cassius or Nia draws it, so it becomes a free 200% attack and a draw card. Destruction is amazing on Renoa, as she can discard a Dirge Bullet and deals 300% damage. Tactical Action is optional if you come across it. It's not super important, but it wouldn't be bad to have in a save file should you run into an enemy that relies on shields. Here is the deck example. Again, the idea here is to make her damage as consistent as possible each turn, rather than relying on a single burst turn. Don't hesitate to play Dirge Bullets if you have the free action points, as you're probably generating more than you need. Hold Last Ditch Effort in your hand until you can combo it with either an Ego skill or Flower of Devoured Fate. Use Ballad of Pitch Black to rethin your deck of excessive Dirge Bullets. Just make sure not to use it before using an Ego skill. Ray's upgrade that gives a permanent 60% damage to all 1-cost cards is massive on Renoa, as it's basically all of her cards including her Dirge Bullet damage. She also has buffs like Morale and Dark Condensation. I've used Cassius in this example, but Nia would work the same, just to focus on cards that draw and discard. Cassius has a bonus of getting a quest card that completes when 3 1-cost cards are played. Very easy for Renoa and Ray to achieve. This lets him get a free card that damages and heals, which is much needed as this team doesn't have much sustain. Next is Bullet Pain. This pairs Renoa and Luke, both bullet users. You can slot Mika for the sustain or Ray for more buffing. The base build is the same, but the card priority and epiphanies are slightly different. Remember to remove the shield card of Renoa's as you don't want it. Because you're now sharing action points with Luke for damage, epiphanies that have consistent effects but still do damage take priority. For example, Instant Judgment dealing consistent damage at the end of each turn. Looking at the deck, her first 2 cards are upgrade cards, making sure she gets 1 Dirge Bullet a turn. Luke follows a similar build, using Stealth Reload to create one of his bullets each turn, so you're always going to have 2 bullets a turn. This allows Dance of Demon to hit a minimum of 3 times, with Rapid Fire and Flower to generate more bullets on the side, and Seize of Opportunity to further buff bullet damage. This is very action point heavy since you're encouraged to use Dirge Bullets to buff Luke, so Mika is here to generate extra action points. I've made an alternative with Ray instead. Without Mika's sustain, Luke plays more of a support role. Both Ray's buffs on top of Luke's, there is still ample damage. My third set is Mono Void. Right now, she only works with Tressa, and again we have Ray. Kayron and Rin do not work with Renoa, as Kayron is too expensive and Rin doesn't work with other DPS. Tressa works as most of her cards are low cost. The main swap in Epiphany here is for Flower to transform all other combatant cards to Dirge Bullets, and then times it by 2. As Tracer makes a lot of free cards, Renoa will get a lot of Dirge Bullets. We're also swapping Echo of Sorrow to generate more Dirge Bullets in the discard pile, and Instant Judgment to reflect that. Looking at the deck, Ray has really good buff cards that target void cards. The idea is to hit hard and fast. The optimal turn here is Unsheathed Dagger into Flower to make up to 10 Dirge Bullets, into Ballad of Pitch Black to amp up all the extra attack damage by 100%, into finally Last Ditch Assault. This is a ridiculous amount of damage in one turn. Just imagine a 650% attack, followed up by 10 shots of 180% damage each. This isn't even including any raised buffs. It is very satisfying. You could also use Renoa's Ego skill if you have generated enough Dirge Bullets to perform the combo. All you need is Ballad and Last Ditch in hand, and since Last Ditch has retained, it's not as hard to pull off as you think. The biggest downside here is that there's almost zero sustain in this deck. We'll finish off by looking at her potentials and Manifest Ego. Renoa's first potential adds 40% damage to Dirge Bullets and another 20% to the extra attack damage. Renoa's second potential increases Extermination Shot by 5% and another 5% if her crit rate is above 20%. If you're wondering what Extermination Shot is, it's actually her basic attack card, Annihilation Shot. And Renoa's third potential increases Dirge Bullet damage by another 5% and another 15% if her crit rate is above 60%, so make sure you hit that 60% crit rate breakpoint. As for a Manifest Ego, at E1, Last Ditch Effort will now get 70% more damage for each Dirge Bullet discarded. At E2, every 4th Dirge Bullet made, she gets a Finale Dirge Bullet, which hits twice on discard. At E3, her Ego skill now deals 500% damage. At E4, she gets a buff called Rose's Resolve each time a Dirge Bullet is discarded, increasing her damage by 10% to a maximum of 40%. However, this buff is reset whenever the deck is reshuffled. E5 is an increase to generic cards, and at E6, whenever a Dirge Bullet is drawn, she'll automatically deal 50% extra damage to an enemy. And that wraps up this introduction to Renoa. I hope this guide helps, and please share your Renoa builds, as the roguelite nature of this game will create endless builds. Until next time, see you on board the SS Nightmare Protoss.